Well, good morning, you intrepid people. Thank you for coming. I'm Sue Farnlocker. It's my pleasure to serve on the Board of Trustees, and I'm a used to be taller 75-year-old woman with kind of purple top and hair, curly hair. Our speakers provide visual descriptions to better welcome people with visual impairments and anyone who may be listening online to this morning rather than watching. So we welcome everybody, even the flies that are buzzing around. So we're taking care of them. So don't fret. If this is your first time here, please stop by the greeter stand for a welcoming gift. Use the QR code on the screen way up there. Well, I don't think we'll have an order of worship today because it's online. And it's a service from General Assembly, the gathering of North American UUs. Thank you, David. So let us know you're here. I'd like to ask everyone to take a moment and silence your cell phones. And we have two announcements this morning. Next Sunday, remember, is our in-gathering, the official start of the church year. Beginning next week, we'll go back to the two-service format. 9:15, you can join us for our Nourish worship. This is an interactive, intergenerational service presented by our alternative worship team. Our traditional worship service will begin at 11. Both services will feature a water communion. Don't worry, if you come at 10, you can have coffee and breakfast and spend time socializing with attendees from our first service. We hope you will check this out. If you are a senior, check your email for your invitation to the senior gathering, sending an email or phone RSVP today. That will save the church a stamp. And we invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. It will be online, and it's also number 361 in the gray hymnal. Thank you. Oh.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Please be seated. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. My pronouns are she, her. I'm privileged to serve as your developmental minister. I am a mid-height woman in her early 60s wearing a blue dress and blue necklace. And today's a little different, as you can probably tell. We have a lot of folks that attend a Labor Day retreat in Hocking Hills, and so many of our people are there. And we really want to give our musicians at least one Sunday off a year. So let's appreciate them for that work. Next Sunday, as Sue said, we're going to have the beginning of our church year. This place will be packed, and we'll have a wonderful service. And we hope that those of you who are visiting will come back and see what our services usually are like. So we begin our service by acknowledging that we gather on land that is stolen from the Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, Erie, and Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people, many of whom were forcibly removed from Ohio. We support the Native American Indian Center for Central Ohio and their Land Back NACO campaign, and we know that we, as a community, have more to do to be in solidarity and true relationship with this land and those indigenous to it. Our chalice lighting is from the poet Jan Richardson. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining, that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten, or in peril, or in pain. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn ourselves toward it, may we lift our faces, let it find us, may we bend our bodies to follow the arc that it makes, may we open and open more and open still to the blessed light that comes. We have just one wonderful joy to share this morning, and that is that Oma Willett turned 85 last week. Is Oma here this morning? I think she's at the retreat, so we will celebrate her when she comes back. So now, please enjoy our service.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Marta Valentin, and I am currently serving our association as the Professional Development Director in the Ministry and Faith Development Staff Group. I am a Latin woman of Puerto Rican heritage with light-colored skin, and I am wearing a lavender and purple robe and my ordination stole. These are my words. They will lead us. It is no secret that the world is on fire, which means, of course, that as part of said world, we Unitarian Universalists are also on fire. We've been on fire for a very long time, and I'm wondering, what is it going to take first to acknowledge this, then to do something about it? I'm not talking about stomping it out for a false sense of safety. No, there is too much needed that is forged by the heat of flames. Desire, righteousness, levity, forthrightness, honesty. Like curled fingers drawing us into its kiln of duplicity, the flames licking at our faces want to expose that though we may have fire in our belly for every burning injustice in this world, we ourselves have been smoldering, and now our centers are burning so brightly we endanger extinction. It is the fire transformers that will lead us now. Those who understand that the fire Unitarian Universalism is sitting in, burning, but refuses to admit, has no choice now but to transform the heat and forge a religious identity not afraid to apply its declared values toward itself. In truth, we're cornered. There's nowhere to turn to save ourselves, not even by an external force holding our feet to the fire. It is the fire transformers that will lead us now. No one group among us, marginalized or not, no one identity, no faction, not the big spenders, nor those who work to the bone, not the toddler who deserves better, not the elder who has worked on a legacy, not even those who knew to add the B to the DEI acronym. The fire transformers will lead us by speaking truth to our own powers. When initial harms were felt, voiced, then ignored, and the smoke started to rise, and the curling fingers turned toward flames, and the fire grew and burst out of control, why didn't we act at the first sign of smoke or the smell of burning ideologies? It took realizing that the fire that ignites us and transforms each of us within that significant moment is what creates change when the world is on fire. When we allow this shift to come into our very existence individually, change has a real chance collectively to transform our beloved faith unselfishly. The fire transformers must lead all of us now, because we cannot wait anymore. In what seems counterintuitive, they challenge us to sit in the fire not as martyrs, not even to love the hell out of our world, but to transform it. They invite us to tenderly embrace the many-petaled flower of grief and let its healed seeds sprout a long, long overdue revolution, knowing that the courage to face such a terror comes from deep within as a practiced love, ready to embrace each minuscule change within ourselves for the sake of monumental transformation. Let us each be a fire transformer, leaving the legacy and the gift of real freedom. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Greetings, everyone. Ancestor James Baldwin once said, "Go back to where you started, or as far back as you can. Examine all of it. Travel your road again and tell the truth about it. Sing or shout or testify or keep it to yourself, but know whence you came." My name is Reverend Jacqueline Brett. I serve our congregation in Durham, North Carolina. I am a Black woman, slightly over 5 feet 4 inches in height, with honey-colored skin. I am also bald and wearing a purple robe and multicolored stole. For those of you who attended this service 2 years ago, there is no need to do a double take, because yes, I do indeed bear a resemblance in name and appearance, though not in statuesque height, to beloved colleague, the Reverend Jacqueline Duhart, who I send a cross-country shout-out to and words of gratitude for her role as elder sister, who has impacted me in delightful and profound ways on this journey of Unitarian Universalist ministry. I arrive here in this moment in the spirit of Sankofa, an indigenous word and philosophy of the Akan people who reside in present-day Ghana and the Ivory Coast. Sankofa, a word which describes the idea that it is not wrong to go back for that which you have forgotten, signifying that the past illuminates our present, that what we know or seek to know and create today is rooted in our past, irrespective of how we might regard it. I arrive here in the spirit of Ubuntu, the African philosophy of interdependence. You are because I am because you are. I am because we are. A profound philosophy that gives our world shape and meaning and accountability when we truthfully reflect upon it. With these words in mind and heart, let us recognize in this moment both our elders and ancestors, those who have loved us into being and those from whom we are here nonetheless, irrespective of how they might regard us or how we might regard them. Even the troublesome ones to whom we can say, see, this too has been made possible because of you, as I today with determination embrace the fullness of who I am, who we are. May we recognize our people and families of origin and claimed relations, whom we might in this moment direct a collective heart of healing toward, irrespective of how we might regard them or they us. To the Unitarians, the Universalists, and the Unitarian Universalists whose actions, evolving beliefs, and claims of a living tradition, whose imaginations, no matter how limited or expansive, have ultimately led us to this very moment. We find ourselves in this eternal now, irrespective of how we might regard them or they us. As I consider ourselves in this present moment, there is a wisdom we carry from the past, from a living tradition that with determination remains relevant and alive, that constantly wrestles with itself to do so, to consider its past in the light of today. For to not do so is at our peril. We have learned that there is both good and questionable wisdom to be carried forward from whence we came. Let us consider the Adinkra symbols of Sankofa, a bird with its head turned backward, lifting up fruit of the past, while its determined feet are faced toward the future. And second, a heart made of two solid lines, spiraling inward and spiraling outward, images that represent a groundedness, a solidness, one that is not rigid because it takes a determined flexibility to turn ourselves all the way around to locate the learnings of the past so they can testify to our intentions facing the future. Maybe we learn that when we go back as far as we can, examine all of it, as ancestor Brother Baldwin says, tell the truth about it, let it testify, we shall then choose to shed certain beliefs, ideas, and actions with a fierce determination to lean more robustly into the values and theologies that can hold us for this eternal now. That as with this nation of ours, it has been we who are at the margins holding the center, much the way the spiraling lines of the Sankofa heart hold the center. We have pushed and often demanded with determination that the higher ideals of our living tradition be fully embraced, rather than default to limiting beliefs of white supremacy, culture, action, and exclusion. And so we discover ourselves anew in this now, a people and a faith concerned not only for ourselves, but also for the tensions and concerns of the larger world in which we are interdependent, intersecting with a web of systems and contexts, no matter who, what, or where we are. That the world is both flooding and on fire. That the increase in war has become a commonplace, flawed solution, only resulting in trauma and death. That hard-won voting, civil and human rights over our bodies, or to simply exist as ourselves, are being methodically dismantled and openly attacked. That no matter who, what, and where we are, we appear to be failing in our collective capacities for civil discourse, even amongst those of us who call ourselves Unitarian Universalists. And of course, there is democracy itself. Are we witnesses to it dissolving in a cloud of conspiracy theories, hard to discern untruths, insurrection, and a rising tide of fascism? So I will take a breath here, and I invite you to do so as well. I invite you to consider your heart. I invite you to consider your heartbreak. And let us simply breathe together. Given the heartbreak we have each encountered these past years, or perhaps over generations, I, and maybe you too, have been asking, now what? Both as some new unthinkable situation we collectively face, as in now what? As well as now what might we do? How might we address all of this? As if we could, everywhere, all at once. It was almost 25 years ago in her letter to a young activist in troubled times that Clarissa Pinkola Estes, the mestiza Latina American poet, psychoanalyst, and post-trauma specialist, published her now iconic words. Do not lose heart. We were made for these times. She said ours is a time of almost daily jaw-dropping astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to visionary people. It is though Estes arose on this very morning and wrote this today for each one of us. Now what? Her words resonate because they could be said of any people, of any era, as is often the case when we reflect upon the past, go back and get what was lost or forgotten from whence we came, to rediscover, as Alice Walker has said, that it is an easy thing to forget that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. And so here we are, made for these times. A couple of months ago, the Board of Trustees of the UU Service Committee, of which I am a member, went to Poland to visit several of our grassroots activist partners who we support in their work on behalf of human rights. People fighting oppression and injustices toward the LGBTQ+ communities. People addressing racism and injustices toward Black, Afro-descendant, and Roma people. And people who travel the forest between Ukraine and Poland to rescue refugees fleeing war. And one very brave young activist with clarity of mind and fire in her heart, who addresses the needs and trauma of women and children fleeing war. Though the struggles of these Polish activists are culturally different than in the U.S., they reminded me of the work of many of our activists here in America, with perhaps one distinction: their notion of community care. That the purpose of self-care is not an individualistic act of taking a break to seek comfort. Rather, their focus is that the intention of self-care is in its importance to the community overall. Because if your or my fire burns out, if you or I am not addressing our trauma, our depression, our health, or embodied stress, it impacts both us and the community, making our work and ultimately the work of the community overall unsustainable when we are all wearing ourselves out, allowing our fires to diminish. One of our partners in Poland focuses solely on providing community care as proactive work for organizations and activists who are burning out and experiencing trauma related to their work. At one point in a revelatory moment that was a witness to love and healing, a room that we were in became crowded, filled with activists after activists after activists who shared with us how vital this work supported them and their work, offering care for the community. And so it's with this in mind that I lift up the work of our own siblings at Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. Blue's leadership pressed pause ultimately for 2.5 years on much of their programmatic work to make room for collective rest and realignment, as well as to reimagine and rebuild an organizational structure that is both mission-aligned and sustainable for a lasting future for Blue as an organization and for the people of the Blue community. We can learn from them, from both these groups, that the intentionality of addressing self-care as community care is one we'd all do well to practice as a means of building our capacity, expanding our imaginations and resilience, and holding the now what that is confronting us in this moment and sure to confront us in days to come. So, colleagues, we intellectually know that it isn't sustainable or wise for us to overfunction, working ourselves to the bone, burning out with all the mental, physical, and emotional issues resulting from that, and how the communities we seek to serve are impacted by that. And congregations, how are you addressing community care in your ruminations, worries, and concerns about all that is happening around you? My community at ERUF holds me accountable in this way, and for that I am grateful. Even as I must remind myself again and again that the work of the ministry that I so greatly love and is so much the work of my heart is better served when I care about myself as an essential act of caring and serving the community, both within our congregational walls as well as beyond them. Have you been concerned about holding your religious professionals accountable for their self-care on behalf of your community, just as you are holding them accountable for the doing of things? We Unitarian Universalists are great doers. We like to do the work of our boards and our committees. We mobilize in doing the work of justice so well that we are known for our progressive commitments and stances that often lead the way for other religious communities. I have been in rooms with interfaith colleagues who acknowledge us for this. But as we face the multitude of now what coming our way, it needs not only our doing, but our being in a deep, heart-opening, spiritual, practicing way that nourishes and replenishes and guides each one of us, fills our cups for the days we are weary, dispirited, despairing, afraid, worried, outraged, and distressed. What practices are nourishing and replenishing you, filling your cup? For me, it is often the reading and writing of poetry and listening to jazz, especially live jazz. Both of these I love and are meaning-making experiences about noticing and being present to the world around me, metaphors of improvisation, shifting and moving with others, being unsurprised by change, being willing to collaborate, being willing to reimagine and recreate what I thought I already knew. Back in March, I taught a class called Poetry as Sacred Practice, during which members of my congregation, most of whom did not especially consider themselves poets or writers, read and wrote poetry almost daily, as our writing prompt became to locate the poetry in our days. Poetry became a gateway, an opening of hearts, and a reaching toward one another in community. And we became like plants in early spring being watered, coming into bloom, enlivening ourselves, enlivening our community. 2 years ago, I began engaging a daily practice of the Buddhist metta meditation, or loving kindness meditation as some know it, bringing the complexity of its deceptively simple 4 lines into mind and heart and personal accountability. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free. Contemplating each day how I might consider the words beyond mere recitation or thought exercise, how the words could become my conscious personal action of living and being in relationship with others and the world around me, of recognizing in what ways I have work to do. And I am continually transformed as I commit myself to doing my work, and so experiencing the workings of metta within me. And as in the tradition of Buddhism, I dedicate the merit of my metta practice to those who would most benefit, to all beings. So I have a suggestion for us all in this moment. What if we each created a heart-opening and spiritual practice of reflection upon our UU values each day, holding them as a daily source of focus for meditation and contemplation, or chanting, praying, journaling, as a prompt for locating the poetry in our days, making music, painting, or dancing, reflecting upon the petals of their flower, discovering the complexities of their meaning, and reflecting with wisdom born of humility upon the past when we considered such values because they're not new, and we or our elders and ancestors fell short of them. asking, now what? As we allow their meaning to become so deeply embedded within us that we each are transformed, such that our UU values become the outpouring of our living, that we hold ourselves accountable to more than intellectual ideas or even aspirations, such that our UU values become the source from which our hearts open, are enriched, are transformed, and attended to, and an offering of community care. And we might then dedicate the merit of our practice to those who would most benefit, all beings. We shall then choose to shed certain beliefs, ideas, and actions with a fierce determination to lean more robustly into the values and theologies that can hold us for this eternal now. And we come to a clearer understanding of ourselves as a tradition persistently alive in a deep revelatory love and knowing of the wisdom of our past meeting the now. In the you are, because I am. And I am, because we are. Let us make it so, my friends. Amen. Ashe. Ashe.
I'm grateful to my friend, the Reverend Jacqueline Brett, for this reminder that transformation begins within us and around us and among us and goes from there. Every Sunday, we share our offering plate with some organization that shares our values. This Sunday, that organization is the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. We empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. Our local League of Women Voters has been one of our democracy and human rights focus groups' main partners for voter registration, which I'm sure we all understand the deep need for in these times. And so I ask you to be generous in your giving. You can use the QR code on the screen, or you can place your offering in the basket as it comes around. And we will now sing with the video, It Sounds Along the Ages. Please rise.
It sounds along the ages, soul answering to soul. It kindles on the pages of every Bible scroll. The psalmist heard and
Our benediction comes from the Reverend Laura Martin. Yes, of course, organize and vote like the freedom of your body and voice depend upon it, but also rally for the wildflowers. Know the feel of what you must say when it leaves your throat. Stay bewildered not only by the terrible, but also by the close-up. Frogs in ponds, flowers that return for another summer. Serve a person that you do not like much. Serve an ideal that you do. Show up when it matters that you have come. Leave when your intuition tells you that you should. And understand that you will not regret the summer that you stood when you heard the music and danced. And now let us extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Let's go get some coffee.